They didn't put me in the galley because I could cook. They put me there because I was colored. I'm Samuel Washington, Petty Officer, 3rd Class, United States Navy, assigned to the USS Johnston, DD 557, Fletcher-class destroyer. I spent 2 years serving on that ship in the Pacific, and I'll tell you right now, being a cook on a destroyer didn't mean you were safe. Didn't mean you were in the rear with the gear, protected from the fighting. It meant you fed men breakfast, knowing some of them wouldn't live to see lunch. I'm from Alabama, little town called Selma that most folks never heard of. My father worked the docks. My mother cleaned houses for white families. I was 21 years old in 1942 when I enlisted. Didn't have much choice, really. The draft would have gotten me eventually, and at least by enlisting Navy, I thought I'd avoid the worst of it. Thought I'd be on a big ship, somewhere safe, doing my time and coming home. The Navy had different ideas. Back then, they didn't let colored men do much except cook or serve as stewards' mates. Didn't matter if you were smart, if you were capable. You were black, so you cooked. That was it. That was your war. I was angry about it. Still am, if I'm being honest. But I did my job. Learned to cook for 300 men in a galley the size of a closet, on a ship that never stopped moving, in heat that would make you pass out if you weren't careful. Learned to make powdered eggs taste halfway decent, to stretch rations when supply ships couldn't reach us, to keep feeding men even when I was exhausted and scared and didn't know if we'd live through the next engagement. The Johnston's captain was Commander Ernest Evans, half Cherokee, half white. Maybe that's why he didn't treat us colored boys like we were invisible. He expected the same from everyone. Work hard, do your job, protect the ship. Didn't matter what color you were. We needed that. Because the Johnston wasn't some rear echelon transport. We were a destroyer. We went where the fighting was. We screened carriers. We hunted submarines. We bombarded beaches. We went toe-to-toe with Japanese warships that outweighed us 10-1. And through it all, I cooked. 3 meals a day, every day, no matter what was happening outside that galley. The ship could be under attack, could be taking fire, could be burning, didn't matter. Men needed to eat. That was my job. I joined the Navy thinking I'd be safe. Thinking cooking was soft duty, rear echelon work. I was wrong about a lot of things back then. October 25th, 1944. We were off the coast of Samar Island in the Philippines, part of a small escort carrier group. 6 escort carriers, little flat tops, barely armed, protected by 3 destroyers and 4 destroyer escorts, us and not much else. I was in the galley that morning preparing breakfast. Coffee brewing, powdered eggs mixing, toast going, normal routine. The ship was at general quarters. We'd been at general quarters all night. But that wasn't unusual. We'd been at GQ so much lately that it felt normal. Then the call came over the 1MC. All hands, all hands. Enemy surface force on the horizon. Multiple battleships and cruisers. This is not a drill. Battleships. Japanese battleships. My hands stopped moving. I looked at Johnson, the other cook on duty. White kid from Iowa, good guy. And he looked back at me with wide eyes. "That can't be right," he said. "Battleships?" But it was right. Through the bulkhead, I could hear the change in the engine pitch. The Johnston was turning, accelerating, heading toward the enemy instead of away. Commander Evans was taking us into the fight, a destroyer. Our ship was 376 feet long, displaced 2,500 tons. We had 5-inch guns and torpedoes. We were fast, but we weren't armored. We were designed to screen carriers, to hunt submarines, to do escort duty. The Japanese force, we found out later, included the battleship Yamato, 72,000 tons, 18-inch guns that could destroy us with a single hit, and she wasn't alone. 3 more battleships, 8 cruisers, 11 destroyers, an entire Japanese fleet bearing down on our little escort carrier group. We should have run, should have made smoke and retreated. But Commander Evans wasn't that kind of man. He was going to attack, going to buy time for the carriers to escape, even if it meant sacrificing the Johnston, even if it meant sacrificing all of us. "All cooks report to damage control stations," came the order. I shut down the galley, turned off the burners, secured what I could. The coffee was still brewing, but there wasn't time. Men would fight without breakfast today. If they lived through this, I'd feed them after. My damage control station was in the aft magazine passing ammunition, not cooking anymore. Now I was part of the crew that would keep the guns firing, keep us fighting. The first salvo from the Japanese cruisers fell short. I felt the ship shudder from the near miss. Then we fired back. Our 5-inch guns opening up, the whole ship shaking with each salvo. We were like a terrier attacking a pack of wolves. Then we launched torpedoes. I heard the whoosh thump as they went into the water. The Johnston heeled hard to port as we turned away, making smoke, trying to get clear before the Japanese could bracket us. The hit came at 0730 hours. 3 14-inch shells from the battleship Congo. They hit us almost simultaneously. The first one struck the bridge, killing or wounding almost everyone up there. The second hit aft, taking out one of our engines. The third hit amidships, right above where I was stationed. The world turned inside out. Sound, light, heat, pressure, all of it at once. The bulkhead next to me peeled open like someone opening a tin can. Men disappeared, just ceased to exist. 1 second they were there, the next they were red mist and falling debris. I was thrown across the compartment, hit something hard, felt ribs crack, couldn't breathe, couldn't see. Smoke everywhere, thick and black. The smell, burning oil, burning paint, burning flesh. The emergency lights were out. The only illumination came from fires. Someone was screaming, high-pitched, agonized. I crawled toward the sound, toward where I thought the sound was. But the compartment was a maze of twisted metal and darkness. My hands found something wet and warm. I pulled back, knew it was blood, tried not to think about whose. "Damage report," someone yelling. "Get me a damage report." The ammunition we'd been passing was scattered everywhere. Some of it had exploded in the hit. Some of it was just there. Live rounds lying in pools of oil and water. One spark, and we'd all go up. "Fire in the forward magazine," someone shouted. "Flooding in the aft engine room." I tried to stand, couldn't. My leg wasn't working right. Something wrong with my knee or my hip or both. I used the bulkhead to pull myself up. Had to help, had to do something. Water was pouring in through the holes in the hull. Not flooding, not yet, but leaking. The ship was listing to port. The deck was slanted under my feet. I found Johnson in the smoke. He was trying to organize a bucket brigade, trying to fight a fire with handheld extinguishers and seawater because the fire mains were ruptured. It was futile. The fire was too big. But we tried anyway, because what else could we do? The ship kept fighting. That's what I'll never forget. We were hurt, we were burning, we were taking on water, and we kept fighting. The remaining guns kept firing. The torpedoes had hit something. We found out later we'd damaged a heavy cruiser, and Commander Evans was still maneuvering, still attacking, still trying to save those carriers. Another hit, this one forward. The whole bow section just crumpled, like someone had stepped on a tin can. More men gone, more compartments flooding. The list got worse. I made it to the main deck, needed air, needed to see, needed to know if we were sinking or still fighting. What I saw was chaos. The bridge was wrecked, superstructure torn apart, bodies on the deck, wounded men being dragged to the aft part of the ship where the doctors, where anyone with medical training was trying to help. And still firing. The aft 5-inch gun was still firing. Men loading, aiming, firing, over and over. Some of them were wounded. Some of them should have been in sick bay. They fought anyway. A chief petty officer, I didn't know his name, grabbed me. You get below and help with the wounded. So I went back down, back into that smoke and darkness and horror. Found the mess deck, my mess deck, where I'd served breakfast 1,000 times, now converted to an aid station. Men lying on the deck, bleeding, burned, dying. The pharmacist's mates working frantically, but there were too many wounded and not enough of them. I wasn't a medic, I was a cook, but I knew how to follow orders, and the orders were to help. So I held men down while the doctors worked on them, handed over bandages, morphine, anything they needed. Tried not to look at the wounds, at the exposed bone and organs and things no one should have to see. Young kid, Ensign, couldn't have been more than 22. He was asking for water, burns on his face and hands, uniform scorched. I gave him water from a canteen. His hands were shaking so bad he couldn't hold it, so I held it for him. "Are we winning?" he asked. I didn't know how to answer that. We were a destroyer going against battleships and cruisers. We'd been hit multiple times. We're on fire. We're listing. Half the crew was dead or wounded. How do you win that? "We're still fighting," I told him. "That's what matters." He smiled, actually smiled. Then he died. Just closed his eyes and stopped breathing. Still had that smile on his burned face. We fought for another 2 hours. 2 hours of absorbing punishment, taking hits, burning, flooding, dying. The Japanese threw everything at us. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, all of them shooting at our little ship. We shot back. Even when we lost main power and had to fire the guns manually. Even when we ran out of armor-piercing shells and started firing anti-aircraft rounds at warships. Even when it was obvious we were done for. Commander Evans was still in command, even though he'd been wounded in the initial hit. He was everywhere, moving through the ship, encouraging men, directing damage control, refusing to give up. I saw him once through the smoke. His uniform was torn and bloody, but he was still giving orders. "Keep fighting. Make every shot count. We don't stop until they do." So we didn't stop. We couldn't. Not while men like him were still standing. But the ship was dying. You could feel it. The list was getting worse, more compartments flooding. The fires were spreading faster than we could fight them. The steering was gone. We were just drifting now, dead in the water, still firing, but no longer maneuvering. At 09:45 hours, the order came. Abandon ship. All hands, abandon ship. It felt wrong, felt like surrender. But the Johnston was finished. The Japanese had moved on, chasing the carriers. We'd done what we could, bought time, saved lives. Now it was time to save ourselves. Getting off that ship was chaos. The port side was too far underwater to use. We had to go over the starboard side. Some men jumped. Some climbed down lines. Some of the wounded had to be lowered in baskets. I helped with the wounded, carried men who couldn't walk, lowered them over the side as gently as I could. The water below was full of debris, oil slicks, men swimming. Some of them were screaming for help. Some were silent. I was one of the last to go over. Johnson and I, we stayed until almost everyone else was off. The ship was groaning, metal shrieking as bulkheads collapsed. She was going down. "Come on, Washington," Johnson shouted. "We gotta go." I took one last look at the galley. Couldn't see it from where I stood, but I knew where it was. Knew every inch of that little space where I'd spent 2 years of my life. Where I'd cooked for men who were now dead. Where I'd proven, to myself if nobody else, that I was more than just a colored cook. Then I went over the side, hit the water hard. The oil was everywhere, coating everything. It got in my mouth, my eyes, my lungs. I came up choking, spitting, trying to swim away from the ship before it went down and took me with it. The Johnston sank at 10:10 hours, October 25th, 1944. She went down bow first, sliding under the waves. Men in the water, those who could still speak, they saluted our ship as she died. Then we were alone. 300 men in the water, clinging to debris, to life rafts, to whatever we could find. The Japanese fleet was gone. The carriers had escaped. We'd done our job. Now we just had to survive long enough to be rescued. We floated for 2 days, 48 hours in the water, in the oil, under the sun. No food, no fresh water, just the sea and the fear and the dying. Men died in the water, from their wounds, from exhaustion, from drinking seawater when they couldn't take the thirst anymore. Some just gave up, stopped swimming, stopped holding on, and slipped under. We tried to help them, tried to keep everyone together, but there were so many, and we were all so tired. The sharks came on the second day. You'd see a fin, then a man would scream, then blood in the water, then the man was gone. We tried to stay in groups, tried to make noise to scare them away. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Johnson died on the second night. He'd been injured in the hits, and he'd kept it quiet, kept helping others, even though he was hurt. By the second night, he was too weak. He tried to hold on to the raft, but his hands kept slipping. "Sam," he said, using my first name. We'd never been that familiar before, always kept that line between us. "Sam, I can't hold on." "Yes, you can," I told him, grabbed his arm, tried to pull him up. "Don't you give up on me, Johnson. Don't you dare. I'm tired, Sam. I'm so tired." I know you are. But we're getting rescued. Any minute now. You just got to hold on a little longer." He tried. He really tried. But his grip slipped, and he went under, and I grabbed for him, but he was already gone, swallowed by the dark water like he'd never existed. I wanted to go after him, wanted to dive down, find him, bring him back, but I couldn't. If I went under, I wasn't coming back up, and Johnson wouldn't have wanted that, so I let him go. Let the ocean take him. Another name on the list of men I couldn't save. That's when I broke. Not when the ship was hit. Not when I was working on dying men in the aid station. But when Johnson slipped away and I had to let him go. That's when I understood we weren't all making it home. That some of us were going to die out here forgotten, just names on a casualty list. I cried, floating in the oil and the blood and the bodies surrounded by dying men. I cried. For Johnson, for the ship, for everyone we'd lost and everyone we were still losing. A chief, don't remember his name, he grabbed my shoulder. Hey, sailor, stay with us. Don't go inside your head. Stay here." "He's gone," I said. "Johnson's gone." "I know, but you're not. You're still here. You keep fighting. That's what the Johnston would want. That's what Johnson would want." So I kept fighting. Kept holding on. Kept breathing even when I didn't want to. Because giving up meant Johnson died for nothing. Meant all of them died for nothing. The rescue came on the third day. A destroyer escort found us, pulled survivors out of the water. 141 men rescued, 186 lost. More than half the crew gone. They pulled me aboard and I collapsed. Couldn't stand anymore, couldn't move. They had to carry me below, give me water, treat me for exposure and oil ingestion and injuries I didn't even know I had. I asked about Commander Evans. They told me he didn't make it, went down with the ship or died in the water. They weren't sure, but he was gone. The man who'd fought a destroyer against a battleship fleet and damn near won, gone. They gave us new assignments after that, scattered the survivors across the fleet. I spent the rest of the war on a repair ship, still cooking, but far from the fighting. They said I'd done my part, earned a rest. But there's no rest. Not really. Not when you close your eyes and you're back in that aft magazine, passing ammunition while the ship dies around you. Not when you taste oil in your mouth and you're back in the water watching Johnson slip away. I came home in January 1946. Got my discharge, my separation pay, my service medals. The Navy gave me a Good Conduct Medal. Gave me the Purple Heart for the wounds I took when the ship was hit. Even gave me a Bronze Star for helping with the wounded. They gave me everything except the one thing that mattered, the right to serve as something other than a cook. Even after everything, after the Johnston, after proving we could fight and die just as well as anyone, the Navy still wasn't ready to let colored men do more than cook and clean. That changed eventually. President Truman integrated the military in 1948. Too late for me, too late for the war, but better late than never, I suppose. I went back to Alabama after the war. Got a job cooking in a diner. Same work I did in the Navy, just without the bombs and the dying. My family was proud of me, my father especially. He'd served in the Army in World War I in a segregated unit, treated like a second-class citizen while he fought for his country. He understood what I'd been through. Not the combat. He'd seen his own combat. But the other part. The part where you serve and bleed and die for a country that doesn't see you as equal. The part where you prove your worth over and over and it's never enough. We don't talk about it much, him and me. What's there to say? We did our duty. We came home. We survived. That has to be enough because it's all we've got. I have nightmares about the water, about floating in that oil slick, surrounded by the dead and dying, about watching Johnson slip away and being powerless to stop it, about the sharks and the sun and the thirst that made men crazy enough to drink seawater. I dream about the galley sometimes, too. Dream. I'm cooking breakfast and the hit comes and suddenly I'm surrounded by fire and screaming and death. Dream I'm trying to feed men who are already dead, who've been dead for years, who'll be dead forever. They made a movie about the Battle of Samar, called it something else, fictionalized it, but it was our battle. I tried to watch it, couldn't. They made it look glorious, made it look like adventure and heroism and excitement. It wasn't glorious, it was terrifying. It was watching your ship die, watching your friends die, floating in the ocean, waiting to die yourself. There's no glory in that, just survival and guilt and the weight of memories you can't escape. The Johnston was awarded the Presidential Unit Citation. They posthumously awarded Commander Evans the Medal of Honor. The ship became famous, the destroyer that took on a battleship fleet and bought time for the carriers to escape. They tell the story in Naval Academy classes now, use it as an example of courage and determination. They're not wrong. It was courage. It was determination. Every man on that ship, from the captain to the lowest seaman, they fought like hell. They died like hell. They deserved every honor they got. But I can't help wondering, did it have to be that way? Did we have to die to prove we were worthy? Did Johnson have to slip under the waves? Did all those men have to burn and drown and get torn apart to show we could fight? I don't have answers to those questions. Just more questions. Just the weight of survival. I'm 47 years old now. It's been 8 years since the Johnston went down. 8 years since Johnson died in my arms. 8 years since I watched that ship, my ship, slide under the waves. Some days it feels like yesterday. Some days I can still taste the oil, still feel the sun burning my skin while I floated in the water, still hear the men screaming. Other days it feels like it happened to someone else, like I'm watching someone else's memories, someone else's war, like that wasn't really me passing ammunition and helping the wounded and fighting to survive, but it was me. It was all me, and I carry it every day, every night. Every time I hear an unexpected noise or smell burning oil or see water that's too dark and too deep, I was a cook. That's what they made me. That's all they thought I was good for. But I was more than that on the Johnston. We all were. We were sailors. We were fighters. We were brothers. The color of our skin didn't matter when the shells were hitting. Didn't matter when the ship was sinking. Didn't matter when we were dying together in the water. For 2 years on that ship, I was just Washington. Not colored Washington, not Negro Washington. Just Washington, a member of the crew, doing my job like everyone else. That's what I miss most. Not the ship, not even the friends I lost. I miss being seen as equal, as worthy, as human. The Johnston saw me that way. Commander Evans saw me that way. Johnson saw me that way. They're gone now. The ship is gone. The men are gone. What's left is just me and these memories and the knowledge that for a brief moment in time, I was exactly what I wanted to be. A sailor serving his country, equal to any man aboard. We fought a battleship with a destroyer. We lost, but we made them remember us, made them respect us, bought time for those carriers to escape and saved thousands of lives. I cooked breakfast for men who were dead by lunch. I passed ammunition until the ship was sinking under my feet. I floated in the ocean for 2 days watching my friends die. I survived. That's my victory and my curse. I survived to remember, to carry the weight of everyone who didn't. They say the Johnston was the bravest ship in the Navy. Maybe that's true. But brave doesn't keep you alive. Brave doesn't bring back the dead. Brave doesn't stop the nightmares. Brave just means you fought hard before you died. Or if you were lucky, cursed like me, you fought hard and lived to remember everyone who didn't.